there's a lot of challenging things as you all probably can pick up on. I think for me, it's obviously it's a very time consuming process. Part of the nice things about stop motion is we both work full-time jobs, and when we were kind of coming up with the short for Toe, we were like, this is great because we can basically shoot this movie on our own time. Like when we get off work, we can focus on it. We don't have to worry about like having actors and shoot dates and things like that. The problem is, contrary to that, that means you have to build everything. You have to do everything yourself, pretty much. So, working a full day doing photographer, I'm a photographer in a studio full time. It is kind of hard to come home and then put in like 4 or 5 hours of shooting, basically stop motion. So it can just be, draining, a lot of work. But I would say for me, it's being able to find the time to put in those long hours that are needed to pull off stop motion. It's not, a lot of people, I think there's a misconception that you have to be very patient and it's like, could be boring. It's very, it requires a lot of focus when you're doing it. So hours will go by and you don't even notice because you're so fixated on, the small things that go into the production. So it's very stimulating, but by the end of it, you've put in so much focus and effort that you literally are just drained of energy by the time you finish like shooting a 3-second scene, So I don't know. What do you think? What's the hardest for you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's just keeping that perspective and, thinking about the bigger picture as you're filming along, because you could spend 8 to 9 hours animating, and really when it's all said and done, you only have about 3 or 4 seconds of footage to work with. And that can be very demoralizing, but you go to bed, you wake up the next day, you put in more time, and then you've got 8 seconds, and you just build off of that. But as demoralizing as it is, just the more you keep building, the more of a reality it slowly becomes, and then it's just that much more rewarding when you have a final product. But yeah, while you're kind of in the trenches doing all of that, it can be pretty daunting. But yes, so I'd say that's the biggest thing. Technical standpoint of doing the nitty gritty with animating, walk cycles have always been pretty difficult for us. And that's when you have the puppet kind of walking along. And especially if you do a wide shot where you want to see his feet in action, you really want to make sure that those foot movements are looking natural and they kind of have a fluid rhythm. Otherwise, it's just really herky-jerky and it's just sort of choppy animation. One thing with Toe is that was our first true stop motion project. And we just kind of learned as we went along, but we did shoot the film sequentially. So from the beginning to the end, we just shot it all the way through, which is a huge mistake because we started it with, as you know, him walking up a hill, him walking through the forest and things like that. So we really got our feet wet with like the hardest animation cycles for us. So it's kind of an interesting viewing experience. If you watch Toe, it's a little crude at the beginning, but just the animation becomes much more fluid towards the end. So from that perspective, it is kind of an interesting viewing experience.
Yeah. What we should have done is taken a lot of time to learn how to actually animate, like the fundamentals. We kind of just like let's do stop motion. Let's learn basically how you pull off these shots, and then we just jumped in and started shooting. So I think we could have benefited. By the time we finished Toe, I felt like we had a much better grasp of some of the mechanics of how to just make movement look natural and things like that. And sometimes while we were shooting, it was frustrating because we're just you'll play back the animation, you're like, that just doesn't look right. It looks too robotic or something. And so, we'd have to experiment and just figure out ways to just create natural movement. So.